properly introduce, but first of all, thank you for coming. Omar Farooqui has traveled all the way from Saudi Arabia. He's an educationist, he's an entrepreneur, and I can't believe in this young age he has achieved so much. I have sent you his website. It is, what is it called?
Codedminds.
Codedminds, but there is hyphen in between,
Yes.
so you can .org. You
Yes.
can look at it. I think I've seen it. His lectures. He was here on a education trip. He has attended many conferences on education. He has spoken in many conferences. He's an educationist. So my main target today was Executive Committee of Third World Solidarity. I'm very pleased some of them are here and they will introduce themselves.
Yes.
But apart from this, if you want to say something, but he will present us what he's doing, how he's doing, and then we will have a chance to ask him questions as well.
Yes.
So that is Omar Farooqui. My name is Mushtaq Lasharie. I'm one of the founders of Third World Solidarity, which was founded on 10th of April 1986. And we have been going very strong. In 2005, we started all-party parliamentary group, and it is going very strong. So I have told you, Daniel Hobson and myself are the main people, but there are others who will introduce themselves. Anything you want to say before we introduce each other?
No, thank you very much for organizing and helping and all. And I really, I would hope that this would be an interactive session. Part of what I'm trying to do in terms of education and revolution for children, from the age of 4 to 16, is to make sure that they enjoy the journey of school and they learn the actual learning process. Not just exams.
I mean, Tanya, you have to stand. Young people have to stand.
So the idea is to hopefully.
Come in, young man. You have to stand, please. We don't have enough chairs. But sit down there for a little while when older people come to stand.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Is it okay?
Yeah, no, and so that's it. So we'll make this an interactive session. I would hope that I'll probably say a few controversial things, so that should spur debate, and I think that's very important. In order to change something, I think you need to also be dramatically very different. And I think we are, and we get asked a lot of questions. We get a lot of head scratching in different parts of the world. A lot of the ministries and governance, where we get regulated from, try to fit us in a little box, but we don't fit in that box. And so that's why when you expand in multiple countries and geographies, it allows us to experiment and be different and all that. So
thank you very much. He will be speaking after everybody
Yes.
has spoken. So, Major Bajasab, can you say just 1 or 2 sentences about yourself?
I've been earlier on in the army in Pakistan and left voluntarily as a young major in 1981. And then I've been trotting on the planet anywhere and everywhere that possibly took me for my job and for my work. And it's been a great experience to know many, many nationalities. And I feel education is not education unless you develop a tolerance of a viewpoint, however absurd or derogatory it may sound to you, because that is the real education. And that is what I learned over my travels, that the education just to pile a degree is nothing. Education is absolutely a state of mind where you can accept any amount of different views of any kind. And that's my point of view.
Thank you
That's
very
what I'm
much.
here.
Huma Singh.
I'm Huma Sayed. I'm an educationist and heading a preschool for young children aged 19 months to 4 years.
Thank you very much. Saundra.
I'm a journalist by trade, and I found a member of Third World Solidarity.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Tanya Mahmood, and I've previously been the youngest Muslim candidate in the general election, and I've now just finished my Masters in Engineering, and inshallah, see how it goes from there. Thank you.
And also she's a youth officer of Third World Solidarity. Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, my name is Zan Mir. I'm actually from the United States. I studied international affairs at university and currently work for a management consulting firm. So I'm looking forward to hearing from the diverse perspectives here.
Daniel Hobson, I said, is working for Liz Twist, but also he worked for Liz McInnes, who is the Shadow Minister for Asia on Foreign Affairs.
yes.
David Game, I have told you, but do you want to say something?
I could just say that I'm happy to be here. I'm running David Game College for the last 45 years, and we we believe in education for all. We bring students from all over the planet to do mainly British education, though. We for older children, not for young ones like you two. But we have extended into many different areas. We're starting our own university now, and we're in a big building in the city. And it's been a great pleasure to know Mushtaq for the last, how many years? 10, 15?
More than that. But don't declare the age.
I'm happy to be here. I am Al-Hashimi, journalist and media man from Iraq.
Kefale, you can go there and introduce yourself as well, please. Go
All
there,
right.
you should go there because cameraman should be in one corner.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Lasharie. My name is Kefale Alemu. I work with Third World Solidarity, and I also own a website and I manage it. Thank you.
And he has studied in Russia agriculture.
Oh wow.
And he's expert on agriculture. He used to work in Ethiopia with the government to improve the agriculture. I think he speaks many languages, but Russian, and he was in Uzbekistan, yes,
Uzbekistan,
Pashtan,
yeah.
which is a very historic place for Muslims.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Very pleased to be here and meet everyone. My name is Hashim, Al-Hashimi. I'm from the Iraqi Democratic Movement. It's not a political party, but it's a political group working to promote democracy and human rights and civil rights in Iraq. We work closely with the Third World Solidarity for many years now. I won't declare how many, or my age, or your age, Mr. Lasharie. And thank you very much.
I think it is very important to say that I was introduced to Omar Farooqui, and I'm meeting him first time by another colleague of mine who is based in Dubai, and she's a journalist. She writes for all Middle Eastern newspaper. Her name is Amna Khashgi. She's originally from Pakistan, but now she lives in Dubai, and she also worked for Codedminds with Omar Farooqui, and she's also a journalist. So I'm very pleased to welcome everybody here. Journalists, other colleagues, educationists, and I think I will hand over to Omar Farooqui to speak, and then, as he said, it will be interactive one. And my apologies for booking the small room. I never knew that this much interest will be created to Omar Farooqui, because I thought it should be a first introductory sort of meeting, and then in future, when Omar is here in London, we will hold a bigger meeting, Saundra, where a lot of people can be invited from particularly education background and other, which he will explain. Umar.
Absolutely, thank you very much. I went to boarding school here in the US, so this is like a second home to me. I come here multiple times a year, so I will never hesitate to come out here, in a drop of a hat. So I'll give you a few minutes on Codedminds, how it started. I had a 19-year investment banking career before I started Codedminds. I worked for all the blue chip investment banks you can imagine, but after 19 years, which was 3 years ago, it left me a little bit hollow. It left me a little bit empty, feeling a little bit, that I haven't done anything or truly accomplished anything in this world that is impacting the society around the world. So my father is a retired doctor. He was the doctor for King Faisal in Saudi Arabia. So he did hit whatever he had to do in terms of impacting lives and people and all that. He did it for the society in Saudi Arabia as well after he left the royal court. So me, after about a 19-year investment banking career, I wanted to do something a bit more different as well. And my son, who's now 13 years old, moved back to the US with their mother, and was struggling in school. He was going to one of the better schools in the US, but he was struggling and he was not enjoying himself. In fact, he cried going to school, and that reminded me of my schooling in Saudi Arabia, growing up in Jeddah. I hated going to school. I never enjoyed it. It was a stress. From first grade all the way till A levels when I came out here. So I think that cannot be schooling. The journey of schooling cannot just be about taking exams every year, and then when you take the exams, and I think if you ask the younger generation, you take the exam and then you basically forget, right? And or you forget majority of what you have learned, right? Because schooling today prepares you to take exams, at every level, every step of the way, and then prepares you to go to college. have the students actually learned anything along the way in terms of concepts, in terms of anything? If you ask them what they've done, they usually accomplish a lot of that when they start working in normal world, normal society, basically, right? So so when the parents have, whether it's private, whether it's public education, that journey of a good 10, 12 years has been basically a waste of time in terms of from the actual subject matter. So I said to myself that, okay, maybe this is an opportunity for me to do something radically different, something that will basically change the way education is done, the way education is perceived. So it was a very emotional subject. It was a very emotional, personal journey. And in the last 2.5 years, we have now expanded in 4 countries. We will be expanding in 13 countries and hopefully more. And when you start getting phone calls from, let's say, the US, from areas like the Silicon Valley where you have a lot of innovation going on, when you start getting calls from England, we're in discussions with Sandhurst here in the UK, we're in discussions with Eton, a lot of these things, when they start happening, then I think you feel that you're on the right track. You're definitely doing something that is very different and people are taking notice. You mentioned Amna Kheshji. She's a journalist, a very well-known journalist with about 20-25 years in that field. She started covering us about two years ago, and she's been covering us ever since then. And if you sort of do a little bit of Google search on us, you will see that we've been appearing in quite a lot of these revolution in education sort of phrase, if you will. And I'll give you a couple of minutes of what we do. So Codedminds we have 2 models of working. Well, 3 now if I include social enterprise as well, but the 2 models are basically, we have our enterprise model and then we have our direct model. The enterprise model is when we partner up with schools in all parts of the world. So currently in 2019 and 2020, our plan is to be in UAE, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and Malaysia. Okay, these are the 4 countries. In 2021, we will add Egypt and Indonesia and India, and then so on and so forth. We will keep adding basically over the next 5 years as we expand. The beautiful thing about why we can expand so rapidly in all these populous countries is we don't actually have campuses. We partner with schools, right? And when I say partner with schools through our enterprise model, so I'll give you an example. We partner in Pakistan, for example. We partnered up with a couple of schools in Pakistan, which were public schools. And public schooling in Pakistan is basically free, right? They charge for books and they charge for a few other things, but they don't charge for the actual education, right? So we've adopted their curriculum in Pakistan, and I'll give you an example in the UAE as well, where we are headquartered currently. Our price point was actually cheaper than the public schooling system in Pakistan, right? And then we started talking to a few schools in the UAE when we started getting a lot of these phone calls and sort of like, you're ruining our business model because, the private schools charge an arm and a leg, but here we are giving private school standard education to public schooling at public school prices, right? That is a little bit of a revolution, if you will, and that prompted a lot of sort of head scratching from the ministries, a lot of phone calls from the ministries. I met with some of the education ministers in Malaysia. While I was on this journey of partnering up with schools, I then realized that if I'm providing teachers and who teach through our methodology in the classrooms of all these schools, what will those teachers do who are already existing in the schools teaching? They will probably get quite upset, or there'll be a little bit of a protest, if you will. So I then adopted the model of, look, when our teachers are teaching in the schools, the teachers that already exist in the schools become assistants to our teachers. There's an on-job learning going on of upgrading of their skills as well. That prompted us to start another line of, which was basically teacher training. So we are currently developing the world's first and only global teachers training academy, which is, again, never been done. You'd think it would be done, but it's actually never been done. Where we, doesn't matter what, what country you're from or which country you are adopting. You could be teaching for A-levels, you could be teaching for high school, you could be IB, baccalaureate, you could be Arab, you could be Pakistan, it doesn't matter. We teach according to all standards because our students prepare to take, if a student joins us from the age of 4, by the time they're 12, 13 years old, they're ready to take college level exam in any country around the world. And the reason why I'm saying this is because we've done tests and we've done demonstrations for a number of months in various schools and various curriculum, and we've basically bettered the students what their standards were in that school in terms of test scores, in terms of what they've achieved at that age. It's basically a huge advancement or leap in their own understanding of subject matter. So we are at this current stage. I've divided. So we start at the age of 4. We go all the way to high school, and what I've done is that we've divided this age range in 4 levels. Each level is 2 years long. So there's no more semester system, or there's no more 1 year academic year from September to June. We run for 2 full years. Each level is 2 years long. Okay. Each level of 2 years is by age range. So our level 1 is for age range from 4 to 6 years old. The next level is 7 to 9, 10 to 13, and then 14 and beyond, basically. So if a 4-year-old joins us, by the time he or she is 12 or 13 years old, they're ready to take college level exams. Any part of the world, any country in the world, basically, right? Our subjects are 100% project-based and democratic education, where we give power to the students to learn at their own individual pace. So there's no tests, there's no exams. If parents always question us, yes, but what if I want my child to take a test? I want my child to take an exam. We encourage them. We don't give the test, but I tell them to go take those tests and see for themselves. And every time they've taken tests or exams, the child has basically come out with flying colors or getting all the grades they want to get, and then they run back to us because our methodology is fun and it's practical and it's a lot more current world problems. We did one of our projects was agricultural related project to do with irrigation systems. One of our 9-year-old child created a robot, programmed a robot that actually does gives water to the plants and what have you. And we had the ministry, actually the agriculture ministry, take that whole thing and expand it further, basically. And that's a 9-year-old child, right? So everything that we do is with a purpose. Everything has an outcome. We've taught about 40,000 children already in the last 2 years. We're only 2 years old, so we're not 100 years old, we're not 50 years old, 5 years, we're only 2 years old. We taught 40,000. By the end of next year, we should have reached 1 million students already. Because of the country, the populous countries we're expanding in, and again, we're merging public and private education into one. Because our price point is so ridiculously affordable that, wherever you are from, it's basically, it's a right for you to learn. It's not a privilege. So that's basically where we are today. And we're expanding very rapidly, as I said, in 4 countries today, 13 countries in the next few years. And we've added a social enterprise section as well, where we basically, we teach in schools for free as well. In let's say impoverished areas. I've had a lot of people ask us, question us. They've come to our schools to sort of observe. That something is not quite right or doesn't seem quite right. Or is this too good to be true? So we're very open. There's nothing to hide. We would encourage everyone to come and listen to us and see and observe. And as a result, we've had a lot of happy parents and a lot of happy children and a lot of happy teachers who've been upgraded in their own skills as well. So that's basically where we are today, and I hope that there will be many of these that we come, and thank you again for the invite.
Thank you very much, Umar. I think my first question will be which part of Pakistan you are working at the moment, and then anybody can ask question. And obviously, David Game, I would love you, and I think we have been joined by 2 people since you have started speaking. Professor Victoria Goddard, I was speaking with. She's executive committee member, and Bilal Dogar is from Channel 44, which is one of the largest community-based Urdu channel in Pakistani community. I think you all know. Thank you, Bilal, and thank you, Victoria. So my question is, which part of Pakistan you are working at the moment?
Right. So we 2 months ago we got licensed in Pakistan. to be an academic institution in Pakistan. So we have started, in fact, we have our first camp in
Lady Sheikh, sir, are you? Lady Sheikh, come and join me, please. Can you pull your chair ahead and you pull your chair backward?
Sure.
That we can have a little more room for people who are recording it. But don't worry, we will have a group photo at the end.
Yes.
Anyway, so if don't worry about the photograph. Yes, in Pakistan. Thank you very much, Lady Sheikh. I think, as I said, I hope at some stage Lord Sheikh will join us as well, and Faisal Rashid. He is in the chamber,
In the chamber at the moment,
speaking
sorry.
about anti-Semitism. Yes.
Fantastic. So we just got licensed in Pakistan as an academic institution. We are 22nd of June, which is in a couple of days' time. We are launching our first camp in Karachi. Okay, and the price point is so ridiculously low at 2,000 rupees, basically, that we're teaching children, engineering and game development and extremely high. And so, as you can imagine, the interest we have from the idea is to offer education, the best of it, to everyone. It should not just be for a specific percentage, in any country in the world. It should be available for everyone at the same level, at the same standard. So we are launching in Karachi. We will be expanding in all the regions as well, in Pakistan and other countries as well as beyond.
David Game, do you want to ask something?
Can you elaborate, please, on the way your project-based learning complements
Yes.
existing curriculum
Yes.
for schools that you
Yes.
become engaged with in
Correct.
terms of mathematics and languages, for example, because project-based learning
Yep.
doesn't teach those skills.
That's right. So what we have done is, we were well aware that if I am to do something radically different, I would still need to satisfy the criteria of other schools or existing schools with existing curriculum, who have obviously the mission of, teaching the kids something and then making them do exams at a certain end. So, we in our early first year of our existence, I partnered up with about 5 different schools from 5 different disciplines in terms of, we had with an American school, with a British school, with an Arab Gulf school, or an Emirati school, and also a Pakistani school and an Indian school.
Come in.
The
Lord
idea-
Sahib, please. Lord Sheikh Saab ji, thank
Sorry,
you very
can't
much.
to be staying long. I'm taking part in the debate.
I know, you just
because I like you.
stay here. Sir, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Lord Sheikh Omar Farooqui from Saudi Arabia. And we have already introduced, and you know most of the people, but I think it is, thank you very much for coming out of chamber. And while he will be speaking in a minute, Omar, yes, carry on.
Yeah. So what we did was, the reason we partnered with all 5 is I wanted to take their existing curriculum, right? So we're not changing their actual curriculum, what needs to be taught, lesson plans, every single subject matter within mathematics or all the other subjects. So we're not changing any of that. But the way education is delivered, the actual pedagogy of the delivery of every single subject is changing, is what we are doing. We're radically changing that. The current teachers in schools all around the world don't do it the way we do it, which is basically equipping the kids to in a group-based environment of making the existing curriculum of the schools and basically projectizing it, if that's a word, to sort of adapt what they're doing, but making it 100% practical to real life, real world examples, and essentially throwing textbooks out of the window. We have zero theory. There's absolutely no theory in our classes. And over the last year, when we've been implementing, and now we're about 80 different schools, around the world, it's being proven itself basically, where the school basically gives us the whole student body. So we have a school in UAE, for example, in Abu Dhabi. They have 3,000 students, and so we teach the whole 3,000 students with our teachers in every single class, from kindergarten all the way to high school, all the subjects. So science, maths, engineering, arts, you name it.
Thank you very much. I know the Lord Sheikh has to go, so let me tell you, Omar Farooqui is an educationist plus entrepreneur. He has revolutionized in the last 2 years the student. He is doing it in Saudi Arabia, UAE, Pakistan, and he's trying to expand it to 13 countries.
Yeah.
And it is a education based or interactive education, no test, but group wise, age wise, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, 10 to 13, and then they are prepared for everything, and it is the cheapest model in the world with public schools. So he's already speaking to Sandhurst in UK with Eton, and I hope David Game will be another person to speak to. He is running many colleges here. Lord Sheikh is entrepreneur. He was born in Kenya, but his interest on education, on peace, justice in the world is very interesting, and he is a Lord of Faisal Rashid sir, please can we move everybody on one chair there, or you can sit there for a few seconds. Faisal Rashid is MP from Warrington. He's chairman of BRI, Belt Road Initiative, and CPAC. Wonderful, thank you for coming. Lord Sheikh will say a few words. Omar Farooqui, I've already told, he is the man. You couldn't get on the website for some reason, but he's the man. He has already explained, but he will come back again. Lord Sheikh, sir, would you like to say a few words?
Well, thanks very much indeed. I'm sorry I missed the first part of what you were saying, sir. Education is very, very important. In fact, on my coat of arms, my motto is Ikra. Now, when the Holy Prophet came down from the mountain, the angel Jibril said to him, Ikra, before he came down, which means education, which means research. So education in Islam is very, very important. And in fact, the Holy Prophet said, pursue education even into China. He said, the pen of a scholar is mightier than the sword of a martyr. Education is very, very important. In fact, you know, the words education were not uttered by Blair. They were first uttered by a man called Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, who founded the Aligarh University, because he realized the importance of education. And I think that I'm so glad that you're pursuing this further.
Thank you.
I, in fact, in my younger days, I used to be a university lecturer. I had to make a decision whether to pursue an academic career or to go into business. So, being a son of a politician and businessman, I chose business, but I continued my lecturing activities by being
Ended up politician.
by being a visiting lecturer at a university. I'm very actively involved in promoting educational links between UK and overseas countries. In fact, I was instrumental in setting up arrangement with the University of Khartoum, the University of London, in setting up a connection with the University of Hertfordshire and universities in Northern Cyprus and in Sri Lanka, and in the middle of discussion of setting up a branch of an English university in a Central Asian country. Education is very, very important, but I believe that we as Muslims, we should educate our children on Islam, but we also must educate them on worldly affairs. In Islam, in Urdu, they say deen and dunya. So the two must go hand in hand. This is so very, very important.
Correct.
And in a country like Saudi Arabia, where they have oil will not last forever. And I believe in human capital. And you can improve human capital by educating your people. And that is very, very vital. And if I can help you in any way, sir, I have connection with universities. In fact, I'm advisor to a university in Hertfordshire. I've just been appointed as director of a private university. I'm doing it all on voluntary basis. So if I can help you in any shape or form, it is something I'll be very delighted to do so. Now, I'm also very, very keen on promoting interfaith dialogue. And in fact, my name will be coming up very shortly, because we are talking about anti-Semitism. And you know, Jews are people of the book.
That's right.
And it's very, very important that we combat any form of discrimination, whether it's against Muslims or blacks or Jews, and this is very, very important. So with these words, Mr. Chairman, can I be permitted to leave?
Thank you very much, Lord. So let's give him a big hand, and Lord, you can ask any question outside if you like to. Yes, the next question or comment, David?
I wondered how you train your teachers, and do you train them all in Saudi Arabia and send them out, or
No,
do you have training centres everywhere? And
Yes,
how long do they spend being trained? Can you tell us a bit more about the teachers?
Yes, absolutely. So So every country we expand, every city we expand, we hire locally,
Daniel,
right?
why don't you come
And when we hire locally according to our
because you are
criteria.
being disturbed by photographers.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
according to our criteria, according to our standards, when we partner up with the school, right, the teachers in every grade and every subject matter become the assistants to our teachers, and there's an on-job training going on as well. We sign contracts with them basically that we teach them according to our methodologies. They observe, they are physically involved in every single class for the whole academic year of that school. Separate from that, we have every city we go, we set up orientation camps which lasts, let's say, over the summer, where teachers come or sign up with us, and we teach them according to our methodology. We have a set system already that we've created. Of course, it's an evolving system. It's not a static one at all. And we partner up even with the institution, with the universities as well. I mean, I've said it's from 4-year-olds to 16-year-olds or A levels or high schoolers, but actually we have plans to set up university as well, higher education as well, and go into even adult education, executive education as well, because we've had calls from corporates as well who've said that we would like our executives to be upskilled or retooled, if they, as the phrase is.
So in a school, would teachers carry on using their own methods alongside your methods, or how would it work?
No, our methods, when we sign the contract, the school basically gives us the blank sheet of paper to deploy our methods, but the curriculum remains the same, using our methods, so the teachers that exist at the school learn on the job for the whole academic year.
Thank you very much.
Basically, it's teachers training.
Correct.
Yes,
I
sir.
have a
Joseph.
question, because I feel the decline in the mental sphere of education has been in the public schools you are going to work with.
Yes.
There is a radicalized mind,
Yes.
and it's a very severely radicalized mindset
Yes.
of teachers.
Yes.
I have observed it while I was in the army,
Correct.
because some of the ghost schools and other schools, we were made to see them, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, that mindset is very important to be offset.
Correct.
Like in Finland, now they have abolished the syllabus, yeah?
That's right.
So it's a different system of education.
That's
So
right.
unless you create that tolerance of a viewpoint within your teachers,
Absolutely.
whatever class is going to come out,
Correct.
they are going to come out with some preconceived thoughts that they are carrying from their homes,
Absolutely.
or they are carrying from their teachers.
Absolutely.
So you must put emphasis. Are you putting some emphasis on this or not? This is my question.
Absolutely. In fact, you've touched on an interesting subject. So, education generally is such an emotional topic. It's such an emotional area. Be it a parent, be it a teacher. To do something radically different requires a little bit of a breaking of emotional walls. So you're absolutely right. I mean, every time we've gone into these countries, we've had a lot of pushback. Because it's been a set mindset for many years of teachers or of even a parent saying that skepticism. There's a lot of skepticism of that. So one of the things. So when we teach, when our teachers train with us, we actually pay them to train, right? So we're paying them to train out using our methodology, and then almost guaranteeing them a job at the end of that training. So the whole mindset as well changes, because then they adopt, and when they go through our orientation of 3 months, they basically come out a completely different person at the end of that, simply because our way of teaching is so different to what general teaching has been in most of these countries. But having said that, I'm saying it very easily. It's not as easy as that. You're absolutely correct, and it's a journey that we are going towards, and we're evolving ourselves all the time. But the best thing is always when you teach children, they're the ones who are most ready to adopt to a change than us older people are, basically. And one of the subjects we teach children from the age of 6 is actually emotional intelligence. So we actually teach them as a subject matter. It's not about just physics, chemistry, math, sciences, and all that. It's actually about real world living, and if you will. So we do that as well, and it's very fascinating what sort of the data sets that we get, and every data that we capture. What we will do. Hopefully, we'll keep evolving that.
Thank you. Another question? Yes, Danny?
I'd be keen to know how you improve standards while also reducing costs, because that's something I think all schools would want to do if they can.
Yes. We have 2 sets of battles, right? One battle is with the private schools who let's say charge quite a bit for their education, and yet we come and we implement our standards for maybe not even a tenth of the cost, right? Yet our standards actually improve the children because we encourage them to take tests that the school implements, right? And when they take those tests, our data has shown the children actually improving their scores. Even though I personally think tests and exams shouldn't be there anymore, I think it should be like the Finnish system. It should be very, very. It's unnecessary, I believe. Yes, but it's still there in normal education, if you want to call it, for the lack of a better word. So we encourage exams to be taken by the students after they've gone through our system, and results have shown dramatic improvement in their scores. So what we're doing is working so far.
Professor Victoria.
Thank you, very, very interesting and very provocative.
Yes.
I have lots of questions. I think to summarize them, I was interested in what you were saying about making education fit for purpose.
Right.
In particular, presumably from the point of view of the children, the young people.
Yes.
And I wondered what you meant by fit for purpose in a world that is so unpredictable at the moment, so unstable.
Yes.
Especially if you don't seem to be approaching content, if you're working with existing curricula. So my question is, what is it that makes this system fit for purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have two ways of doing what we do, right? The enterprise model, where we partner up with institutions and schools. So we have to use what they give us, so we don't want to disturb them, but our methodology, that's one. Then there's a direct model. The direct model is very much where we're in charge of our 100% of our own destiny, where we don't need to comply with other standards, right? Where we can experiment, where we can do what we want to do, or what I would like education to be like. And that is where the fit for purpose part comes in, and we've had a lot of parents who've had their children leave mainstream education and come to us now directly. So look, we don't want our children to be part of that school, we want it to be part of your school. So, and we don't have a campus. Right, so what we did is I designed, the team, I should say, who have all the credit, designed our methodology and content, right? Knowing that current schools do not prepare children for 21st century skills and jobs, basically, they just don't. And that is the whole emotional part of what people need to realize, that there is a complete, there needs to be a radical swing towards change in what content is and relevancy of content. So we do that in our direct model, basically, and it's preparing children. If you look at our own curriculum and lesson plans and syllabus, which we have a lot of details of, children literally run to us. Parents have been converted as a result of it, because their children have left schools and come to us now. So yes, fit for purpose is extremely important, and that's my personal sort of thesis, if you will. That I'm hoping that eventually all those schools that we have an enterprise model with will convert and do what we do in the direct model, basically.
You want to come back?
Well, to pick up on your point about and on our themes, which are peace and justice and solidarity, how can one match fit for purposeness to the world of work, which, as you've said, we agree is changing and somewhat unpredictable, with also building these values. Going back to content, I suppose, but it's also to do with the methods.
Yes.
How can we incorporate these values of tolerance, of respect and listening and learning from each other? Is that part of your methodology?
Absolutely. So as I said, we have 4 levels, right? Each level is by group, age group. So level 1 is 4 to 6 years old, and 7 to 9, and so on and so forth. And within each level, we have groups of children, basically, who we put them together in groups, randomly selected, doing projects that we have, doing the methodology that we have. And within each group, you realize, because it's almost a camaraderie, a communal sort of engagement going on between children. And all the role of the teacher changes from being a teacher who, let's say, historically, stood in front of the class and sort of linearly gave lectures or on education. The role changes to being a much more of a guide and a facilitator, right? Using projects, using technology, using artificial intelligence that we are also incorporating in our classrooms. So children are left to learn at their own pace, left to learn together, left to learn by doing projects together. And the things that we discover just by observing, I mean, children are ready to do whatever. It's us as parents who hold them back, if I'm honest with you, because we think we know what's best for them, which is fair enough from an emotional perspective, but the practical part is that, they're ready to do a lot more than we actually give them credit for. And that's what our data has shown so far. And we're evolving, we're only 2.5 years old, but we're expanding very radically.
Yes, Hashim.
Yes, very interesting. I can't help being in the political group. I can't help my mind wanders to the political background of because like everything else in the public sphere, you can't separate it from politics.
That's right.
Education is one of the main things,
Absolutely.
especially in some of the countries
Yes.
you mentioned. Some of these countries have a prevailing conservative
Very
kind of
Absolutely.
approach and culture.
That's right.
So with that, how's that dealt with?
Yes.
That would present you with a challenge. And
Yes.
this, the other side of it.
Yes.
Your focus is about the method
Yes.
of delivering
Yes.
education
Yes.
or
Yes.
facilitating
Yes.
education,
Yes.
educational process.
Yes.
What about the contents,
Correct.
which are mainly
Yes.
are based on that conservative kind of view?
Yes. Absolutely. So we don't have a one size fit all, right? When we expand in all these 13 countries, each country will have its own culture, will have its own traditions and values. So that's why we hire locally and we train locally through using our methods and our methodology. That's one area. So so there's no one sort of flying in from another country trying to teach something in another country. I mean, yes, it's easy to say that mathematics 1 + 1 is 2 in every culture in the world, right? It's true, it is. But it's the way the teaching happens, the way methodology of teaching happens in that country is unique of what we bring to the table, right? Second of all, the direct method, which the lady touched upon as well earlier, our direct method is where we create content as well. It's everything we create is unique to us. It's proprietary. It is intellectually protected. And is our own method, which we don't use in the schools. In the model where we partner up with schools, because exactly what you said, schools are very conservative historically, and most of the countries that we go into, they're ultra conservative, to be honest. They don't want to change, So we, for free, for the first few months, actually demonstrate what we will do. And if you sort of go to our website, you will see a lot of testimonials from a lot of these countries, from parents, from principals, from school staff, saying that what we've done has opened up completely a different mindset to them as well. And that's part of development as well, for children to develop that mindset and to influence their own countries.
Sorry, I was a bit late, so I didn't really hear, and I'm trying to understand what this is all about. I think I want to know that what level of children, is it like high school or primary school?
From 4-year-olds to 16, to high school.
To high school,
Yes.
Okay, and then what?
Well, so then they're ready to go to college.
So are they able to actually compete in international level with the same curriculum? What's your curriculum? Is it the same curriculum in each country they have recognized?
Yes.
Or is it just your methodology of that curriculum, how you teach, is the difference?
So two ways. So in our enterprise model, where we partner with schools, obviously we use the curriculum of the existing schools in any country, you name it, right? So we're qualified basically, right? Because we're using their curriculum, but our methodology. That's one area. In our direct model, we have our own curriculum, right? And in our own curriculum, obviously, each country we expand in, we get licensed locally. Because we get licensed locally, so we fill that tick box, if you will, of being recognized by the education authorities of that country. So yes, they recognize our curriculum as well, the direct curriculum as well. Yes, they scratch their head a lot because it's radically different from what the normal or the traditional schooling is, But we're expanding. We've expanded. We've taught 40,000 children so far We should be about we'll reach about 1 million students by the end of next year already. And the idea, 13 countries, Pakistan, India, Indonesia, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, populous nations.
So one of the problems that some of the third world countries have is the different curriculums, right?
Yes.
So every private schools, there's state schools, and they all have their own different curriculums. And when children actually go from primary school to high school, they are taught differently. And then when they go to universities or colleges, they've actually learned something different than other children.
Correct.
And this can be a really big problem. And it's already a problem.
It's a huge problem.
So
That's right.
having another curriculum,
Yes.
how do you see that might fit within the same kind of environment?
No, absolutely. So that's why when we use our enterprise model, when we partner with schools, right? It doesn't matter which curriculum or which country or which culture or which you do. I mean, be it GCSEs or A levels or high school or Pakistani curriculum, Indian CBSEs. It doesn't matter to us. Our subjects and our methodology prepares the children to take those college entry level exams, no matter which country they belong to. So we don't disturb that, because obviously if we were to radically change something, disturb something, we want to do it in our own direct model where we have our own curriculum. And yes, there is a leap of faith of parents, and in the last 2 years we've had a lot of parents leave mainstream schools and come to our curriculum because they were basically fed up of the current traditional schooling systems. Which basically teach children to do exams and it's like factory-based learning, factory workers. You sort of, you do tests, then you get ready for the end of the year exam, and then you forget. Ask your son or your daughter or something what they learned, they'll probably forget the next academic year. So the Finnish system, which you mentioned, abolished all that, right? So it's the #1 rated system. We have Singapore adopting the same thing. Singapore announced last week, no more exams. So it's happening. It's definitely a revolution that is quietly happening. I'm trying to play our part in emerging markets.
How do you test them if you've got no tests or nothing?
Yeah.
Right? How would you know that these children are doing well?
Yes. So basically, there's 2 ways, right? Each course that the children do is an outcome-based, project-based course. So children cannot go to the next level if they don't complete the project. So we have 10-year-olds making Formula 1 cars, full-size Formula 1 cars. We have children making rockets. We have children making speedboats, if you will, right? We have children making computers, right? They cannot make a computer if you don't go through the stages of that project, physical project itself.
But that's part of the current syllabus in many schools. That's what happens. Because,
Absolutely.
for example, you've got like IT subject.
Yes.
Under that subject, you've got a theoretical,
Yes.
right? So then you got to do practical as well. So it
Yes.
comes.
You'll be
You've got to understand the
you'll be
logic behind
surprised.
it before
Absolutely.
you go to practical stuff.
Well, no, absolutely. You'll be surprised, right? So currently, a lot of the schools do so much project-based learning, but if you actually study there, because that's what we do, right? And that's why so many schools have adopted our methodology. When they advertise something, but they don't actually really do it. There's still 80% of their curriculum is still theory. Only 20% and 20% is not enough time to do these large projects. In order to complete a Formula 1 car, it requires 12 months, right? It's not possible in a normal curriculum standard. Ours do complete it, right? While they're learning all the physical, engineering, mathematical formulas and what have you, doing it that way, right? So it's one of those things that we've been experimenting with. We've been talking to different countries, different schools, public and private, and they're adopting.
I mean, don't take me wrong. I mean, I think the practical way of teaching is the best way, because I'm quite practical, so I don't like reading stuff and I fall asleep. I rather get out and do things, and it's different people, different. So
Correct.
some children might like it,
Yes.
but some children might not.
Absolutely.
So you've got
Absolutely.
to really have a clear balance.
Which is why learning should be individualized, right? It should not be one size
that's
fits all.
absolutely.
Yes, and that's
Actually,
what
you
we-
didn't listen. In his
Earlier,
10,
so
15
yeah.
minutes, he explained everything, which he is now repeating. Any other question? Obviously, we will hold him for next few minutes,
Yes.
although he's busy. Who is first?
The lady.
Yeah.
So mine's more of a, first of all, I'd like to say that I think what you're doing is very admirable,
Thank you.
and considering how the world is really changing, and knowing to code is going to be very, very, I mean, it currently is very important, and it's going to grow over the next 5 years actually.
Yeah.
So my dissertation this year was actually in machine learning.
Excellent.
And I use quite a lot of AI, so I'm wondering what languages do you teach, and what kind of software do you use to help them learn, and how exactly do you teach them how to code? Because knowing the commands and everything, like how do you get that across?
Yeah.
Especially at the age of 4. I mean, I know it can be done, but
Yeah.
I'd just like to know how.
Yeah, it's so it's building blocks, right? I mean, at the age of 4, we start them at a very basic level.
Yeah.
We teach all the language, Python, C++, Raspberry Pi, Arduino
Okay.
boards. I mean, you name it. People, kids make robots, program them to go do stuff. I mean, we have a lot of that stuff. So yes, they learn all the languages. We teach them all the languages because they will need them at every level as it becomes more advanced and as the projects become more advanced. So yes, the kids are very much prepared for that. It's us as parents who actually hold them back.
Yeah.
Because the common complaint of parents is screen time. People start from that perspective say, oh, our kids are already playing too many games and all. Games, if you actually learn to make the game, the creativity that goes behind making a game is ridiculous, and that's what parents don't understand, basically. And so from my perspective as a business, is also an emotional battle, if you will, for the lack of a better word. And every time I go on stage or present or whatever, that's one of the things I always implore the parents, like, look, allow your children. I mean, it's not just screen time. That's too simple an argument.
Yeah.
It really is a lot more to that.
Yeah. And in terms,
Yeah.
in terms of teaching in the other countries how to code,
Yeah.
this is quite an naive question, I suppose, because I mean I've learned how to code in English.
Excellent.
So how would you be teaching them how to code in English as well?
Well, coding is a language in its own right.
Okay.
It's not English. The delivery of the person teaching is he or she could be from England or UAE or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But the actual code is a language on its own. It's its own language,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's why the younger you start, the quicker you pick it up.
Yeah.
When we first started Codedminds, I had a 7-year-old child and his father, right, who's an investment banker friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, look, you guys both learned the same basic, Python together. Let's see who comes out first. The 7-year-old child picked up in 4 lessons what his father did in 20 lessons.
Oh wow.
And this gentleman was the CEO of a bank in the UAE. So
That's incredible.
yeah.
How did he got the job?
I know that there is a lot of more questions and we will continue. We are here for another hour, but I know Faisal has to leave.
Thank you
so
so much.
I want to do 2 things.
Yeah.
First is to ask him to say a few words,
Yes.
and then we have a group photo before he leaves. At least we will tell the word that we had a member of parliament
Thank you so much.
who left the parliament, although Lord Sheikh came so short period that I couldn't do and stop the meeting, but now I can, and then we will continue informal discussion. So can I ask Faisal Rashid to say a few words before we have a group photo?
Well, thank you very much, Alisha Isa, for inviting me. It was on very ad hoc this morning, just a quick call. Well, sorry, missed earlier as well. But I think education is very important, as we all know. And I don't want to emphasize, keep going on about the history, and Lord Sheikh already mentioned that. I think the most important thing is to take that methodology, how you can actually implement into different countries. And if it is what you're saying is so successful, then absolutely, we should all promote that and help you to achieve.
Thank you.
It's for our children. That's the next generation.
That's right.
If we don't invest in our youth and in our children, then there is no future. Absolutely, there is no future. And I'm a big advocate of investing in education, investing in our youth. So well done what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the very best. And if I can be of any help here in the Parliament, we'll be more than happy to.
Thank you so much.
As I said, this was my first meeting with Umar, but I'm very pleased to meet him. And we, as a APPG on Third World Solidarity, in collaboration with many other parliamentarians, we will continue inviting you. And whenever you are in London, I know you love London. You have been educated here.
I do.
So can I request everybody to come